okay. My name is Mattis Center. Some of you already know me. I'm here to talk about our relationship with Mother Earth and how it can affect our healing and our spiritual development and growth. I'm going to start out. I don't know how. It sounds like some of you, like you're Sonia, your polarity. Is anybody else any energy healers here? Anybody else like that? Anything into sort of metaphysical or anything like that? You are. Oh, there you go, Reiki. Okay, so most of you kind of like understand. So yeah, I didn't know where to. You can always get a different audience at these presentations. So we're going to start out talking a little bit about the physical aspect of Mother Earth, and then I'll go more into the spiritual and the other alternative realities that there are. If you want to ask questions, just ask a question anytime you want. And at the end, I'll just answer all questions, talk a little bit more, and go from there. My background is that I've done a lot of things in my life. Probably the big part of a chunk of my career was as a former money manager. I managed money, and then I felt called by God, and I left. In 2002, God asked me to get me to pray around Onondaga Lake, and that began this whole genesis of learning about Mother Earth. I have a website called MotherEarthPrayers.org. It's a listing of sacred sites in upstate New York where I believe Mother Earth's soul resides. So several people. The last place I worked was Van Eck. Before that, I was at Chase Private Bank. Before that, I was on my own, Clemente Capital. I've done sales trading and a lot of different things. MotherEarthPrayers.org. Yeah, right now I'm working on a book on the sacred sites where I believe that this area, I don't know how many people are familiar, and kind of like digressing, but that's me, are familiar with what is going on here. But this has been a wellspring for social justice and various initiatives like the Women's Movement was born here, American Democracy with the Peacemaker Planetary of Peace on Shores of Onondaga Lake. It's been called North Star Country for all the freedom seekers escaping slavery that came and resided here. It's been called America's Sacred Highway, the Burnt Over District for all the religions born here. There's been just a tremendous amount of people, and what over a period of years I've found is that there's an aspect of Mother Earth I call fields of consciousness, where ley lines, have you heard of ley lines? You guys have heard of ley lines, emanate from. And this is near the home of Frederick Douglass, Harriet Tubman, Susan B. Anthony, Matilda Jocelyn Cage, Garrett Smith. It just goes on and on and on. So all these, it's not coincidental that either people were called to come here, felt, or they were motivated by that consciousness. So there's something special here, that whether we realize it or not. We've had some great leaders come out of this area. And actually Syracuse is the center, the hub of it, particularly Onondaga Lake. So I'm going to talk now really about how the fact is that Mother Earth, we're so intimately connected to Mother Earth that you can't begin to. And my talk is how Mother Earth to heal and nourish your body and soul. Okay, the father of modern medicine said, illnesses do not come upon us out of the blue. They are developed from small, deadly sins against nature. When enough sins have accumulated, illness will suddenly appear. So for, 2,000, 2,500 years ago, 3,000 years ago, the father of modern medicine said what? That our problems rise from what we've done against Mother Earth, that somehow we're intimately tied to that. Florence Nightingale said, nature alone cures, and what nursing has to do is to put the patient in the best condition for nature to act upon him. So in other words, another great healer says the same thing, that somehow nature is tied into this. Studies show, I got a bunch of studies on my webpage, and I've got a few of them here. It says, a rise in cardiovascular disease in communities that have eliminated ash trees because of the emerald ash borer. So in other words, when the trees go down, you reduce Mother Nature, illnesses go up. Nature nurtures creativity in children. They've got several studies out showing that. Amish kids have lower rates of asthma and allergies. Patients with a window view in a hospital have quicker recovery times. So effectively, all sorts of benefits come from Mother Earth, or the problems arise if we are not connected to Mother Earth. But we have certainly alienated ourselves from Mother Earth over the last few decades in particular, but over the last few hundred years, beginning with we've lost our connection to Mother Earth. That's a dilemma that we face right now. People are not connected to Mother Earth the way that we used to be. Several factors would be behind this. Lifestyle changes. We switched from an agrarian to an industrial life. Our hands are not in the earth. It's critical that we be focused on Mother Earth, that we do things with her, and that we've lost that connection. Farming now account maybe 2% of the population farm versus, 80, 90% 100 years ago. We've reduced our dependency. We have clocks. We don't need to see the sun for gauging time. In a lot of ways, we were tied to Mother Earth. Science has empowered us no longer to be that dependent upon her, and as a consequence, we've lost that connection. Distance. We have buffered ourselves from weather calamities for our food and shelter. Focus. We don't think about Mother Earth. Native Americans give thanks to Mother Earth. We would think about the Earth in previous years for all these different reasons. We don't do that anymore. Technology. We have conquered Mother Earth. Technology, and again, I only have this computer here. I don't have a lot of technology in my life, but technology is a very pernicious thing. Not only does it damage Mother Earth, but it alienates us from her and from each other. You've seen many books written over the last 5, 10 years about the damages of technology. I mean, you saw the pictures, right? Kids are all clicking and not talking, right? All these sorts of things have gone on in this period of time. And not only are we connected to each other, we're not connected to Mother Earth. We're not connected to our source. And intention and focus are the power. What we focus in on comes into our life and manifests that from the secret and the law of attraction. Now, this is a great book you all might want to take a look at. I've got some quotes in it. It's a book titled Earthing, the most important discovery. And basically, the authors of Earthing, Oxman, you may have heard of Steven Sinatra, the cardiovascular doctor, the heart doctor, heart surgeon. He's pretty well known in the alternative medicine area, herbs, supplements. He's got a great web page. He's been a tremendous benefit to me. So, what these people said is they found that our investigations strongly suggest the incidence of soaring chronic diseases during our lifetime has occurred during a period in which more and more people have become increasingly disconnected from the earth. So they attribute this sort of the diseases, and I don't, because we become disconnected from the earth. And they basically say the cause of that is inflammation. That if you look at all diseases, they're somehow tied, chronic diseases, heart disease, diabetes, arthritis, lupus, all are somehow tied to the rates of inflammation in our body. And they think that comes about that our disconnect from Mother Earth has contributed to our rise in inflammation in our bodies. I don't know, you got practitioners, any thoughts on inflammation and what you do, or polarity, or Reiki, or?
Well, I know arthritis is a lot of the diseases among the underlying too that is directly related to uncorrected imbalances in the earth cycle.
Really?
Yeah.
So I got arthritis, and this has helped me a little. I'm wondering if I'm too much towards earth, too airy. I'm thinking I'm like so high. I don't feel as much, but I used to be so friggin' high. I would walk. It was like I was so airy, and that what's interesting is maybe that's what I need.
Yeah, you probably need the earth to help you.
No, I think I got too much of the earth. I mean, I just the whole thing is that I just wonder if I'm imbalanced in the other way. It's interesting.
You're probably the only one on the planet that is.
But would that make sense to you?
Yeah.
That if you got too much of the other side? That's interesting. Wow. Wow, interesting. That's cool. Okay, now they've got a couple of solutions, and what their solutions are is to walk barefoot or sleep with what they call an earthing pad. They've got this pad that you can buy with the book, and you send a wire out, and they put it in the ground, and that supposedly takes in the geomagnetic energy and puts it in the pad, and then nourishes your body when you sleep on it. And a lot of people like it. Some don't, but they've got, if you go to Amazon, you read the reviews, they're very, very positive for the book and for the pad about the benefits they've provided for people. So that is definitely worth it. But this is probably one of the best books that I have found out there about the benefits of Mother Earth, talking specifically about how Mother Earth can facilitate us and help us heal and do different things. There's a lot of other people that have talked about Mother Earth, but nobody really talks about specific health benefits as to, there's studies and this like that, but there's no, there might be, but I just have not found them. Now, we talked a little, that's why I asked you about it. So we're going to look a little bit at what they call energy, chi, or prana, which basically is that around us there is this sort of field of energy that we exist in. It's an energy that nourishes what we call our energy body. Does that seem too much? Have you heard of this concept before or not? You have, okay. Let's see, your sister does Reiki. So we're familiar with it. So basically, we exist, and I'm a dowser, and there's a variety of energies. I mean, the one thing that we need to really, we'll get more into it, but is that when people say energy, it's like saying there's different types of energy. It's like saying, well, there's critters out there. You guys have heard this example, me say, what sort of critters? Well, there's mosquitoes, there's flies, there's horses, there's fish, there's birds. There's a lot of different types of energy. And that's one thing that most practitioners don't think about, is that there is a variety of energy, and it's dependent upon your intention, what you bring in. So you are constantly being nourished by a variety of different things to create reality. So at a higher level above the material plane, our energy body is being nourished 24/7. So I can take out my dowsing rods and try to, I'm not doing too well here. Try to take out my dowsing rods and get an idea of which way what we call earth prana is the prana that you would attract when you do a Reiki practitioner or something like that. It's just like water. It's like it's like air. It's all over. It's totally does it. It's when I display it, and you'll see in the pictures, I show like little energy lines, but ultimately it's just like water or air. It's just moving, but it moves in this direction, in this location, and it's funneled between what I call ducts and chakras, which is another term you may have not heard of, but it flows back and forth. The problem that you get, see my rods are like this. Most places the field is broken, so it's not as powerful, is not operating the way it should. Okay, here I go. Energy healers such as Reiki practitioners and acupuncturists work with this energy to heal us by removing blockages and giving us an increased dose of energy. In other words, when a healer comes to you, what they're looking to do is to get rid of blockages. If somehow you are not, just as your human body absorbs food, your energy body absorbs energy. And when it absorbs energy, it tries to push it to various parts of your body. The unfortunate thing is you get blockages that occur that prevent the body, particular part of the body being nourished. It's the same thing with Mother Earth. So when I showed you, it's going this way, it's really breaking up. My rods should be both pointing in this direction, but they're kind of going this way. Tell me, it's kind of funky in here. But it's funky all over. So this is not as good as we could. It should be going. They're moving as properly. So when you're in a place like this, you're not being plugged in. It's the equivalent of inhaling polluted air or drinking polluted water. But you're doing that all the time. You don't even realize it. Because most of the world is not very positive. Okay, there you go. There's the theme. Where does this energy come from? Mother Earth. So Mother Earth has this whole other existence and which metaphysical types might call planes of existence, alternative realities, dimensions are words you've heard used for this discussion before. One of the dimensions of Mother Earth is the energy plane. That's the plane of existence just above our physical body. It's where energy flows and then comes and ultimately helps form this illusion of reality that we have, that our physical beings are who we are. So that's where that energy comes from. It's all part of Mother Earth. Now here you go. And this is kind of like an example, and I'll do one up here for you earlier to show one. Flow of energy during a healing. We see here is the normal healing. You're in the field, just going right through your body's taking in what you need. Here, what ends up happening is when you get a healing, the healer is channeling in more energy into your body. Can we do healing here right now? Is anybody willing to become the healer? Any Reiki practitioners? Donna, would you give a healing? Nobody wants to give a healing. You'll do a healing. Who wants to be healed? Okay, go ahead. Come on, just come on. Brenda, I don't know what I can. There you go. Just have it up here so we can get on the camera and all that. And so see, like the energy is supposed to be going this way. So just go ahead and just see what happens when we do the healing. I'll just watch this. You guys have seen this before. So you're going to get a slight pulling in. So what ends up happening is I go out here, the energy is being pulled in, but when I get a distance away, it goes back. So what ends up happening is here, you see I come over here, there's nothing. The closer I get, then it begins to pull away. That's pretty good. You got about, 2.5, 3 feet maybe. That's pretty good. No, I mean, that's one way you can gauge a healer. Yeah, that's what you can. I've been trying to give talks to healers, and I just have not been able to have a chance because it's what you call your draw. How much you pull in is a function of your ability, your connection to Mother Earth. It probably would be bigger. So you see, now I walk over here, it gets over here. But if I get over here, farther away, I get distance. So what ends up happening is when you do a healing, you're drawing in energy, you're drawing in earth, among other things. But that's the primary thing that happens. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you, yeah. So, and the purpose to say to that, really reason I want to show that is that's going on 24/7 with you. That you are drawing in a variety of different things into you at all times. And what it's based upon is your intention. Whatever you're focused in on, that's what you're going to bring into your life. Again, the law of attraction, we've heard that term. That like attracts like. What you focus in on, you bring into your life. Big thing in the secret. So when you focus on healing and helping, that's what happens. You bring in more of those energies that bring about healing. Therapeutic, powerful energies that can bring about healing. Okay, therapeutic touch. Are you folks familiar with therapeutic touch or have not heard about it? But oh yeah, cool. Therapeutic touch was developed by Dolores Krieger and Dora Kuhns. Dora Kuhns was a well-known theosophist and psychic and spiritually gifted person. She was a student of Charles Ledbetter, so she was one of the original ones, or a little bit after the original ones. She passed away, I think, about 10, 15 years ago. But she developed this ability for therapeutic touch that nurses use all over the country. And it's basically the same thing as Reiki. But I just took this from Janice McRae's book. It says, illness is always associated with the depletion of vital energy. Health is associated with a constant energy exchange with the environment. When you send life energy into the patient, you help to strengthen the individual's intrinsic healing ability. So basically, the view is that problem that you have with health is somehow tied to the lack of energy coming into your body. Now, it could be a psychological thing that's blocking it, but ultimately, the problem that you have is that you're just not getting enough of the life energy that you need to keep you going and resuscitate you. I don't know. Does anybody know the actual difference between Reiki and therapeutic touch? Yeah, I have a friend of mine. She took both of them, and she said years ago, she said, therapeutic touch, Reiki gives you a little bit more flexibility, and gives you more different things. But I can tell you firsthand, there's a place called Pumpkin Hollow. You can look it up on the web. It's one of the places I've written up for my sacred sites. It's in Craryville, just about an hour south of Albany in the Hudson Valley. The vibe in that place is just phenomenal. It's called Pumpkin Hollow. If you ever get a chance to go to Pumpkin Hollow, stop at, it's about 2.5, 3 hours from Syracuse. If you want to take a day drive, go there. On your way back, stop at Kateri and Fonda. It's another fabulous place. That's not a healing place, but it's a sacred site. But the vibe there is just really, really good. And I think that has to do with the fact is that it's being done by nurses and people like that are more dedicated. And the unfortunate thing is Reiki's really good, but a lot of people do it to make money. It's a different sort of thing. It's in Craryville. Craryville. It's in Columbia County, which is the county just south of Albany County, I believe. Is it Albany County? It's about 2.5 hours north of New York City. But it's a really spectacular. I was just there a couple of months. I had to be there less than 2 months, maybe 2 months ago, 6 weeks ago. Just the vibe is still there. It's a great little place. I took a bunch of pictures. They ton loads of orbs in the pictures. Just ton loads of orbs in the pictures. It's an enchanted little place. It's a place where you might see little people. Who knows? I don't know. That's why Dora Coons took the place. She said they were driving around. She said, stop the car because they bought it during the height of the Depression. And she said, this is the place. And she said there's lots of little people. I've never seen little people there. I've seen them other places, but I've never seen them there. But it's definitely an enchanted place. Go read. I want to use one of the testimonials from my next book on sacred sites for this guy, Ed Tick, who talks about the healing ability of that place, and it just bring you to tears. He talks about how wounded veterans found life and were renewed there, and how it had the ability to suck out all the hate and anger and violence in their bodies and cure them. It's an amazing testimony. Amazing. Okay, what determines your inflow of energy? It's your intention. Again, we talked a little bit about this. It's your intention, and it is whatever you focus in on, you're going to bring into your life. Focus on love, you're going to bring love. You focus on violence, you're going to bring in violence. The other thing that's going to determine what Mother Earth sends you is your connection or circle with Mother Earth. How intimately you are connected with her. It's just like your partner, your spouse, your friends, your family. Some people you're very connected with. You can read their minds almost sometimes. You know what they want. You need to develop that connection like that with Mother Earth. That's what it really comes down to. Is you have that sort of circle and bond with her, and that's what you. And I'll talk a little bit at the end about circles in particular. I don't know. Again, I guess the crowd. I didn't put anything in there, but I can talk about circles at the end. Remind me at the end to talk about circles because it gets kind of metaphysical and talk about it in my latest book here. And it's the same thing for meditation. So when we meditate, we draw in energy as well, but the energy we draw in is much different than the energy we do during healing. This is the energy that nourishes your soul. So when you meditate, this is normally, when you meditate, you draw more of this, what I call cosmic prana in. And what it does is that, I've got a great picture in my book. I should have put that up. Whatever you focus in on, you bring into your life. This in a while. Anyway, this is for a vortex, but it shows you the same. It shows you the principle. Why don't you just pass it around? So when you do a particular type of healing, or you do the healing, you attract one thing. When you meditate, you attract something else. The stuff that you attract during healing doesn't come in when you're meditating. Conversely, the stuff when you meditate doesn't come in when you're doing the healing. It's your intention is going to draw different things and do different things. When you're focused on healing, you're focused on the physical body, on nourishing the physical body. When you are doing energy healing, do you want to give it to those students? When you meditate or you pray, what are you looking at? You usually, unless you're like saying, "Oh Lord, buy me a new Mercedes-Benz or give me, whatever, give me a car, give me some money, let me win the lotto." Generally speaking, you're trying to help someone. You're praying for love, for peace. You're trying to connect with the spiritual, the divine. So your consciousness is of a higher order, and as a consequence, you're going to attract an energy of a higher order, an energy, what I would say, has a higher consciousness component, an energy that is going to nourish your soul, and that's what meditation does. And I just said it, your connection, improving your energy flow or connection to Mother Earth works like any exercise. Stretching to become limber or lifting weights to gain strength. It improves your capability. You need to work at it. You need to work at this ability to get it back and to make it stronger. And not only will it come back, but it'll stay with you for a period of time. In other words, as you do the healing or whatever, as you focus in on it, it'll keep coming into you and stay with you for a longer period of time. Now, improving your circle with Mother Earth relies on a few different things, and they're the focus. Focus meaning paying attention to her. Sentience, trying to feel her. I always used to say, is to feel and to sense her, is to know her. Appreciation, being, showing your gratitude for her. And friendship, like any sort of bond, you need to have a strong friendship or bond with that person, or that, in this case, Mother Earth. Focus. When I start talking about these sorts of things, I can't give you like a 10-step plan, like do this, do. And I'm never really one also to create power structures or organizations for efforts that I've had often. I'm not like, because I think when you create a power structure, you create a separate entity, you create something that's independent of what you're trying to do. When I look at these, when I look at Mother Earth, I don't know who you are, what you are. I think you need to find that path yourself. You need to begin a quest, trying to find out, how am I going to connect to Mother Earth? You might like chocolate ice cream. Others might like vanilla. Others like sherbet. I don't know what that is or what you need. But you need to just, one of the most important things you need to do is you need to begin to see her. When you look out there, we look in here, and he says, I look at this out here, and it's got this, oh, look, there's a tree out there. Look that way. Because again, attention and focus, whatever you focus in on, you give strength to. So when you see her, begin to see her, you begin to give strength to her. That's the key thing. You're trying to strengthen that relationship in that circle with her. The other thing is, stop during the day and see her. Just, you're walking around and say, hey, I'm going to stop and appreciate Mother Earth. Take a look. Breathe the air in. See the skies. Look at, smell the flowers, whatever. Those are all important steps that you can take to developing that relationship with her. Your circle. Yeah, your circle with Mother Earth. Hi there. So, it just is the key is this, again, focus, sentience, appreciation, friendship. And again, just remind me, I'll talk more about circle at the end because we're going to have plenty of time. So, again, I didn't. You all set, Jan? Okay. As we said, begin to see her and the trees and not the buildings and the asphalt. Focus, attention, power. And as you focus, you'll bring more of that into your life. So begin that focus and that attention towards her, and just periodically stop. Now, sentience. This is a real skill that is, maybe I should have had towards the end. This is something that you need to work hard on. If you're doing, try to gain a sense or feeling of her when you're doing meditating or doing healings. Whatever you are, you know, you guys, how many people can walk into space and go, oh, this is great, or go, oh, this is bad? I mean, how many, raise your hand if you can get a sense of space. You guys get a sense of space? You get a sense of space in some place. That's a reflection of our thinking and what is there, but you could also get a sense of Mother Earth. So just try to gain a sense. If you might want to just take up healing, doing some healings back and forth between each other, not even worried about what whether you are, you know, you're a good healer or not. Because can you feel the energy when you did that healing, Sonia? You're definitely with intention with it. Okay. Try to, if you do those things, when you meditate, focus on that. Go ahead. Oh, okay, good. So, when you meditate, like when I lead a group meditation and I do stuff with people, I just tell her, try to feel Mother Earth coming into you. If you don't feel her coming in, imagine light or something else coming into you. But if you feel the littlest thing, it could be in your throat, it could be here in your Ajna chakra, it could be in your hands, it could be in your feet. Wherever it comes to you, focus in on that sensation. Just focus in on that sensation. And make sure it's just not your hips or your knees are sore because you're sitting cross-legged for too long. But whatever sensation comes into you, focus in on that sensation. When you focus in on that sensation, again, you give strength to it. And over time, you'll develop a very strong sense for her. It'll take time and effort. This is a real skill that you need to develop. You don't need to develop it, but it's a skill if you want to connect with her. You need to try to really focus in on do that, and that's just a great skill to have. Because then when you begin to feel her, you can draw in. As I showed earlier, you weren't here, but I showed a draw. Let me go back to that. Let me see if I can go back. I showed like how we draw energy in. I said Sonia had a big draw. In other words, the area around that she was drawing was fairly large. It's the same thing with Mother Earth. You're going to have a draw with her when you focus on certain things. And you can increase that draw. Okay, I'm going way too fast. Where was I? So you're really trying to increase that ability because that'll come to you. It's the same, and what's the beauty of it? It's you're going to be, energy healing. You get a certain amount of energy is really good and it's helped you. And if you get a lot of it, it can burst out some blockages. The inflow of energy. Think of I haven't done work on this enough, but think of electric shock therapy. How it was used to cure people. Very similar concept. A jolt of energy coming into you that can clear blockages. But when you meditate or do things like that, the energy coming into you then, the more is better because it's going to nourish your soul and raise your consciousness. So the more is better, and you can get it. Now, try to get a sense of space. When you go places, focus on the vibe. Now, that's just something else. That's also a really good thing for you for your individual health. Being in a space that's contaminated is not good. Being in a positive space is a blessing. So that's the other thing is when you go, and as much as you might not sense space, it's getting you to think differently about your relationship with Mother Earth. All of a sudden, you can become more aware of her when you try to gain space. And again, it's all about developing a relationship with her. Now, the thing I will add that for me, this is, again, it depends where you are. Is it periods of time? This can cause problems because now I walk into a space that's very contaminated. I can get sick. I can get like a sharp headache, like someone's got my forehead or my brain in a vice and from squeezing. So that's one caveat I tell you as you advance. You're just gonna, I just get sick, pure and simple. So I got to get out of certain spaces at times. So you need to be aware of that as well. And sometimes ignorance is bliss, right? Appreciation. The other way to focus in on this is to just give thanks to Mother Earth. Just say thank you. You know, Native Americans have some, great customs of saying thank you. And, you've heard it, I don't know how many times, saying thanks, how the beneficial things it does to you. So it's the same thing, but just say thanks to Mother Earth. Say a prayer of gratitude to Mother Earth for the blessing of the food you're about to eat. These little steps will build upon themselves. I mean, just little things like this will begin to alter over a period of time your relationship with her. So just do little subtle things like this. There's no great thing that you have to do, but just little things like that can help. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Amen. Yeah. Cool. I never thought about that. Thank you. Okay, the final thing I talked about was friendship. And that's like any relationship that you have. If you're trying to build a friendship and relationship with Mother Earth. And one of the best things you can do is try to reduce technology in your life. Try to go retro as much as possible. As I mentioned earlier, I mean, all these things that we've, like these Wi-Fi, radio waves, all this stuff breaks up the field, her field. We call this a field that we're showing the energy flow. All that stuff breaks it up. So in other words, the technology is harmful to her. And so think of it this way. If you were, you had black friends, would you want to be involved with the KKK? No, of course not. So try to think along those lines of ways of reducing technology, because it's just like any relationship. If some group is, if you're friends with certain people in some ethnic group and some other group is hateful of them, don't get involved. I mean, just be aware of that. Now, technology can be, it also is pernicious to you as a whole because it can, it's as we mentioned earlier, it does certain things like it alienates you, even though, you see the old thing, everybody's like talking on their cell phones or playing with their cell phones or computers when they're at a dinner table and nobody's talking. So it kind of alienates yourself, and it really distances yourself from Mother Earth and from your friends. The other thing is to take up a hobby such as gardening or hiking. And again, the focus there is you're doing something with Mother Earth or working with her to develop a relationship. I'd say go to a meeting of those focused on Mother Earth, pagan gathering, an environmentalist meeting. You don't have to be involved with these people. You don't have to join up, but show the interest, show the effort. I went one time to the pagan festival they have in September in Onondaga Lake. Have you ever been? What do you think? I couldn't believe how positive the vibe was. I was just shocked to think about how, because it was so mellow and loving. I didn't say for the festival, but I was like, oh my God. And Onondaga Lake is kind of like a mixed bag. It's got some really tremendous aspects, but it's also got a lot of negativity. But it just seemed that was just a very loving and peaceful group of people. There was not that sort of, lack of a better word, negative, violent male energy. Nothing there was males there. The guys were there, but I mean, it just didn't have that sort of machismo or violence to it. Read books on Mother Earth. Just Bill McKibben is an author. He's more of an environmental type, but there's plenty of books out there. Read some Native American books that focus on Mother Earth. Whatever it is, and you do that. Just do some research against yourself. And then I said, disassociate yourself from groups that disparage or harm you. Again, if you're friends with a particular ethnic group or racial group and others are hateful, you're not going to belong to those hateful groups. You're going to disassociate. So do the same thing with Mother Earth. Think about that. Think about that. As you go, because you really want to try to build that relationship. So you need to show that friendship to her. And little things, just focusing in on her will build that over time. Okay. Okay. Let me go into a little bit more stuff. Okay, we talked about your imprint on Mother Earth. And this again, now we're getting a little bit more far out there, but thoughts are power. Thoughts can just really leap out there and grab you, and you ever had an earworm, you got a song in your mind, you just cannot escape it. That's the power of a thought to take control of you. When we think or do something, we leave an imprint or memory of our thoughts where they were created. So, we think of something, it stays there. Part of it goes out and it stays with us. It goes out in the environment as well. And over time, these imprints, I said, encourage more of the same. So when we think or do something in a particular space, like if we do healing in the same place, that's going to become a healing space. In my book, I talk about the fact that anesthetized mice that were put out before surgery, they put them in the same place to recover. The recovery time continues to improve for them because they're recovering in the same place. It's that same repetitive action is going to retain the space. That's why you feel a good vibe or a bad vibe. You might be going to space and feel bad because somebody was angry there, someone was hurt there. Conversely, you can go to a place that feels really good. It could be an aspect of Mother Earth, or it could be that, this is a place where people prayed. This is where somebody asked somebody else to marry them, or, something wonderful things happen in this space. And those wonderful things stay there. And as I said, they affect the flow of energy. And as I shown you earlier, I said, which way is the flow going? I said this way. But now I said, what's actually going? The flow is breaking up because it's not going straight. And why is it breaking up? Is because things have either this is a room that has technology in it and interfering with it, or it's not an area where good things have happened. But most areas, not to say this, believe me, most areas are not positive. So the field is constantly breaking up. So the fact is either A, people carry their baggage with them. People do bad things, think bad things. It's amazing as I've been going out and surveying sacred sites. I was in Rochester a few months back, and I went to a Unity church, and it had a really good vibe. And then except I found one bad spot, and somebody, and they said that was a very negative person. It's amazing the power that one person can have there at that same spot all over again, at that same space on a continual basis. It was an amazing thing. I go to some of these churches also, and you find some of the places, really loving, and then you go to another place that's really negative. It just, we affect space, and that's what it is. And let me talk a little bit more, because we talked about circles, and even more metaphysical on you here. We're all familiar with the Matrix, right? We all seen the Matrix? You guys seen the Matrix? See the Matrix? You have not seen the Matrix? Okay, well, basically the Matrix is the Neo and the others, Orpheus, go into this alternative reality. That somehow they hook up with these computers, and then they go into this simulated reality. It's the same thing with us. It's like a big video game. We're right now in a video game. Our higher and true self is in this other reality that's going on right now. Now, We exist, in Hindus and Buddhists believe, in a sea of consciousness. But alternative reality is made up of consciousness. And then the question is, okay, consciousness is, what is consciousness? And we can go into debate about that. But consciousness at its core is called, one of the things, our thoughts, I should say, are called vrittis. And vrittis literally translated means whirlpool. So consciousness has a circular whirlpool-like fashion. So when we think about reality, and that's why I can say, show me. Anyway, so this alternative reality is right now we are existing in let's say a whirlpool, but we're not existing. We're existing in a trillion to the nth trillion time. There's like a zillion, gazillion whirlpools around us, because that's what consciousness is. And so earlier when I referred to circle, that's what I was referring to. Any relationship you have is that sort of bond that you and I, all of us, have had between each other. We create these little circles. And they have all the features of a whirlpool, which is they try to take control and bring you together and merge. So that's when I talk about a circle with Mother Earth. It's the same with all your relationships in your life. They all affect you some way. It's all consciousness, because again, what's the form of the consciousness, the relationship that we have between family, friends, or whatever? It's a circle. It's that vortex, whatever it is. And it has all the features of the vortex looking to bring us in or not. So when you look at your affiliations, like you belong to a certain club, that club is trying to merge with you. Those people are trying to merge with you. Your family, your work, all are trying to merge with you. Now, when we meditate or do a healing in a particular place, let's say it's just, I always look at this as, I can always try to gauge a space. We're not going to get into that so much. But when you do a healing or you do a meditation in the same place, you're doing the same repetitive thing over and over again. And that circle gets stronger and stronger. And this, my rods indicate, is like when my hands spin around, it's like if I go to a vortex, it'll spin around like this. And basically what it is, it's just the same thing as you see in a hurricane. It's the same principle. When you do that same thing over and over and over again at the same place, you can build a vortex. And what that vortex does, it pulls in more energy, like I showed you back here when we do a healing. Did I have a... Let me see if I do have another one in here. There you go. What is happening in this picture is going to happen to you in your real life, is you can see this here. That's a healing being done in a vortex. This is a normal healing. And, what it really just is trying to show you is that when you do stuff in a vortex, more comes to you. So when you do a healing, when you meditate, that's why you've always heard, ever since you started meditating, right, do it in the same place, right? Meditate in the same place. You're going to bring in a lot more energy every time. And that's what I was talking. That's what a vortex does. A vortex, what again? It sucks in everything. So it creates kind of like a whirlpool. I'll try to see if I can get a picture of that one. You can just see the formation here. And I probably should have done that, but you just pass around this way. Start with you in the back here. Look at these few pages together, and you can see how a vortex forms over a period of time. There's just a series of pictures. Just there's like 3 or 4 pictures, 4 or 5 pictures in a row. Just pass around. It shows you how the energy comes in, and that's kind of what you're trying to get at. Is you're just trying to get that energy to come in, so it just becomes more powerful. So meditate, do healings in the same place. And it just develops a vortex that is going to envelope you. And I talk about in the beginning of my book, I talk about how it brings in that increased energy. And I had been, at a place that was really bad. And when you go to a good place like that with a vortex, energy has that effect. It clears you up. I mean, the thought forms that attach to you from your relationships, from your walkings, from the day, from your actions, meditation at night is great because it's going to just remove all that stuff. It's like taking a mental or spiritual shower before you go to sleep. Especially if you're doing this relaxation, it's going to clear up stuff. There's two or three pictures when you look. It's going to clear up all the stuff that you've accumulated during the day. It's that force of energy coming into you. So a vortex is a really, really cool thing to do, and you should just, pray or meditate in the same space, and that's going to facilitate that formation for you. Yeah, as I said, a vortex is a co-creation with Mother Earth. There's only one step. Promises to be a beautiful journey together. So, ultimately, that's what you really want to do, is you want to meditate or do healing from the same place and co-create something with Mother Earth. You probably have been in a vortex before. Any healer that does a lot, is a really accomplished healer and does it over a period of time, a vortex will form in the room as well as on the table where the healings are done. So your table probably has a vortex on it. And, that's why you should always bring it with you. So it does have a vortex on you. And the other things you may have run into is what ends up happening is you get like what they call a thinning of the veil. You've been to certain places, like a sacred site, and all of a sudden you feel like you can communicate with other realities. You see other sorts of things. Those things are developed over a period of time. There's so much more that we can build upon with Mother Earth if we work together with her. That's it. Cool. Any questions? Oh boy. No, I was going to both, and then one person came. I was like, so I ended up staying there, and it was rainy. Gossamer's a great place, but it's got so many bugs because it's wet, and it's been a wet year. So many bugs. You know where you need to go before the year's over, before the 20th of August is go to Swami Vivekananda's cottage in the Thousand Islands. You guys know who Swami? Really? They went last Friday, not the Friday before last. Yeah, that's why you should always call up in advance. That was the time of the classes, but there's no more classes. Call up the number there and go visit. I was just up there, and it's just so powerful. You guys familiar with Vivekananda at all? Swami Vivekananda. He was a devotee of Sri Ramakrishna, a well-known guru yogi of I don't know what in the mid 1800s, and he would go into samadhi. Had all sorts of spiritual gifts. They say he's an avatar. But one of his students was Swami Vivekananda. Anyway, he came to study with him at a young age and became one of his devotees. And then in 1893, he came to America, with no money, nothing. He just heard about this World's Fair in Chicago, and he wanted to speak at the World Religion. He spoke, and he was just like standing ovation for 2 minutes because he began to talk, instead of ladies and gentlemen. What did he say? What did he say? He said friends or something really, really warm that really captured the audience. And then he went around. He's the one that's credited with introducing yoga and this concept of Vedanta, which is, all gods come, all religions are one. All prophets come from the same place. You can believe whatever you want. They don't really care. It's kind of the universality of religions. But anyway, he gave that speech, and he's credited with that. And then he went to went around the different states trying to raise money, start various initiatives to help the poor, and he ended up in the Thousand Islands to teach an 8-week course, and that's where that cottage is there. But what's really incredible is that the space is on this aspect of Mother Earth that I look for, but also, they seriously pray and meditate. They don't pussyfoot around. They're really sincere about it. And there's a vortex in the back of the house, but if you can go between, they change your hours now, but it's like 10 to 12 or 4 to 6. You can go in the upstairs room where he stayed. 3rd floor when he was there, and they've turned that into a sanctuary. And the vibe is incredible. There's a vortex in the middle there. I mean, I walked in there, it was I was just like, whoa! I was in the balcony like that. I mean, it's an amazing, and right in the center of the room. Just meditate around that area. You go. So I would go there. Yeah. You got to develop a feel for them, and you got to learn how to douse. Are you familiar with dowsing rods? Okay. There's a couple of things you can do for it. You can say, where's the vortex? You can just ask for the vortex. You can either show up like that, or you can get a spinning like that. Just ask to be shown the vortex. They could cross. I don't know. What do you do? Yourself, yeah. I mean, they could cross. They could. Mine generally, I mean, they'll open up like this, or they'll go in this way and they'll just start spinning around like I'll put one hand out. So generally, you just try to go to the area, ask to be shown where it is. When you find it, go like that. If you're dowsing like a healing table or something like that, you can ask to be shown it, but you can also just try to put your hand in certain areas. Generally, it will be over the heart center, or where a particular type of person does their healings, how they do it. It will be in the central location. In other words, if they do healings, let's say on the head and the heart and the legs, it might even be lower. There'll be like an average, like if you gave numbers 1, 2, 3 or something, they take the average of it where most time is spent. But it's generally going to be around the heart or the head area where you're going to find it. And then, or you can try to, what you can also try to do is you can't feel if you think there's a vortex, but they've got to be doing it for a while and they've got to be good. You can try to do is just when they do a healing, see if you can feel the energy then. Try to just play around different things like that when people are doing healings. That's the best way to find it. But there's different types of vortices depending upon different types of energies. I call the one that comes during healings earth prana because it circulates both in the earth and in the ether. The one that comes in meditation is what I call cosmic prana, that comes to us through meditation. And then I was just talking to Janice about it at Swami Vivekananda's on the 3rd floor. That's a totally different type of vortex. That comes from these fields, as I explained to you earlier. I guess you weren't here when I talked about it. I look for these fields of consciousness. That is just more pure consciousness rather than energy. It's just a really, really powerful thing. And it has a little bit of a different form, but it'll be the same thing. So just look for that. That's where you're going to find it. Finger Lakes Dowsers, I don't know. I don't know if we're coming to John Butler's. Is going to meet the 20th. I don't know who's going to. If John's there, he could definitely show you how to find the vortex. But Finger Lakes Dowsers meet. You can just go online, and it's $5 to attend a meeting. And usually at the beginning, someone will be there to teach you how to douse. If you don't know how to douse, you can learn to douse for free. Yeah, not a charge for that, because a lot of people charge you money. And if you do buy dowsing rods, don't get real thick ones, but don't get real thin ones, because real thin ones get kind of like bouncy, and they also get. These I bend up enough already as it is, and having a thinner one is not going to help me at all. Yeah, he's going to be on remote viewing. Yeah, he said that remote viewing is. You guys familiar with remote viewing? It was used Black Ops. I don't know when it was used. In the 50s and 60s, was it? Yeah, 50s and 60s. Yeah. So what they try to do is they try to try to view what's going on in a particular room. Let's say they'll try to focus in on the Soviets' headquarters, or the president's headquarters, and they'll just try to Oval Office or something. Try to focus in on and try to bring their presence there, and then to try to imagine what's going on in the room. Yeah, I tell you, I had that talk with John. John doesn't think that the less you know is the better. Remember that discussion we had 2 months ago? I had this discussion. He said that he felt that the less you know, the less spiritually developed you are, the less spiritually gifted you are. You bring too much baggage. You need to have an open mind. I don't know if I disagree. I just disagree with him. But John Butler's a gifted clairvoyant that can see auras and stuff like that. So it people always come to his talks whenever somebody's talking about him, because he's a pretty talented guy. And that would be the 20th out in North Syracuse. What, 6? Yeah, 6:30 or something like that. I agree with you. I totally agree with you. I mean, I mean, you psychic? Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you. I mean, I think there's a course, but I don't think it's exact. I mean, do you agree? I mean, when you look back at it, you'll say, well, I was right, but not the way I thought I was. I used to do a lot of it. Yeah. I used to really focus on that when I was managing money. Yeah. They'll say it was. I don't know. And they certainly have some talented people that can do different things. I mean, you know, they're all skill sets you can teach yourself, I think. You just need to know what the exercises are. That's the key. You need to know what the exercises. They might not know what the exercises are. I don't know. But there was a guy that was pretty good, and was interesting is when they put him in a lead chamber. Couldn't read anything. So it blocked the energy and all he needed to do. It was very interesting. But people. Taggart was his guy's name. He was at one of the last times I spoke at the ASD conference. Must have been 2012. He spoke at that conference up there. He's well known, but I mean, he's also been debunked because they were talking. He was that. I think he got affiliated with Yuri, that fake spoon bender. Was it Yuri Gagarin or something? His name is. Anybody knows his name? Yeah, something like that. Yeah, he was a fraudulent spoon bender, to say the least. That's what he was. Go ahead. Yeah, yes, no. Yes, I have. There's things there, but I mean, I didn't feel like writing it up. I wrote an article for Light Bridges years ago called on the. It was really weird because I was over there and this dog kept coming over to me, wouldn't leave, kept going away, calling back. And there's some stuff there. There's a field that I look for near the pulpit. Is it? Where they talk? In the woods there, but not there exactly. I mean, see, the stump. Yeah. Some people swear by that place. I just really. Are you a spiritualist? Yeah, I well, you should bring them up. I mean, if there's any. Yeah. I think the areas. I think it's just there's no different than there's. I wouldn't include it as a sacred site, but it's an interesting place. I'm going to write my book, and I tell people to go visit it. That and the Chautauqua Institute are both interesting places out there. No, nothing like that there. Nothing like that. Are you familiar? We talked about this, but familiar with Spirit House in Georgetown, New York? I led an effort to buy that place, and one of our members ended up buying it. That's a spiritualist mecca. It's in Georgetown. Drive by sometime. It's private property. You can't walk on the property, but man, that is busier than Times Square. You know, and that's the problem that you have with this stuff, is that when you start doing things like that, channeling and calling, you don't know what you're bringing up. You don't know what you're bringing up. And I'll tell you one thing. If you want to see ghosts, you know the first place and the best place to go? A ghost hunter. That's my advice to you. If you want to see ghosts, if you want to see all sorts of spooky things, just go hang out and follow a ghost hunter for a while, and you will be amazed. if you're looking for that area, you know where I was, you know what I love, places I love in that area, is the Basilica out in Lackawanna. I walk in that place and I say, the vibe is the best, but somehow the spirit of that Father Baker and that, are you familiar with this? You guys probably aren't even familiar with what I'm talking about. In Lackawanna, there was this priest called Father Baker, and I mean, he's just loved like crazy. I don't know how many thousands came to his funeral, but in the late 1800s, when the Erie Canal started coming through there was a lot of problems with pregnant women, young unwed mothers, children being abandoned. He set up an orphanage, set up one of the first places to take care of unwed mothers, did all this sort of good works, and then used his own money to save his church, became a priest. Why he was a priest? Because he was a businessman. He became a priest, and then the church burned down. They built this huge basilica. I mean, it's a massive basilica, one of the biggest. I don't know. Probably a couple bigger in the country, but it's like a massive, massive basilica. But the vibe, it's just it's mixed in certain places. But there's something there so special that you can feel that love that he had for humanity and for wanting to take care of kids, and people that are disenfranchised. Is pretty powerful. Right? Pretty powerful. So that's where I go. Otherwise, spiritualism is great, but it's just now you got me going. The interesting thing about spiritualism is when it first came out, there was like two different paths. There was this sort of path about, hey, we can make a shitload of money. And then there's another path, this is a way that we can bring heaven on earth and make a better world. And, there's several books, like the women's movement, what is it? I can't think of the name. Ann Baldrick wrote Radical Spirits. Most of the leaders of the early women's movement were involved some way with spiritualism. And this other guy wrote, I bought the book and I want to read it, so I got a copy. The Other Side of Salvation, I can't think of it. Talked about the fact about how all these Unitarian ministers, all these sorts of people got involved with spiritualism as a way to bring progress, to end slavery, to equality for women. That they viewed that somehow communication with the other side could guide them and be divine inspiration for making a better world, heaven on earth. And then it kind of like when they kind of like by the end of the 19th century dropped out, most of that ended, and it just became what it is today. I mean, some people are sincere, some people aren't. It's like anything. Well, cool. Any more questions?